Welcome to the Money RX for CRNAs podcast. I am your host, Brett Fellows, and today I'm excited to introduce Jenny Finnell. Jenny is the founder and CEO of CRNA School Prep Academy, which she has grown into a seven-figure business that has mentored over 8,000 ICU nurses pursuing CRNA school over the past 4.5 years. She's also the founder of TeachRN, a peer-to-peer marketplace that's expanding her mission beyond CRNAs to support the broader nursing profession with career development and educational resources. And as a practicing CRNA with over 11 years of experience, currently working in pediatric anesthesia, Jenny has become one of the most trusted voices in CRNA education and career development. And with that, I'd like to welcome Jenny Finnell to the podcast. Jenny, thank you for being here today.
Thanks, Brett. So nice to be here. I appreciate you having me on the show.
Well, thank you. So I'd love to know about CRNA School Prep Academy. 8,000 students you've mentored in just 4.5 years. And it started by mentoring a small group. Can you talk about your journey and your why story, how that all began?
Sure. So and it's funny, I actually just checked today. We're approaching almost 10,000 and we've launched in February 2020. So we're actually coming up on over 5 years now. But, I didn't actually intend to do this. Funny enough, I joined social media back in 2019 after taking a very long hiatus from grad school. And I called myself Jenny CRNA, and I started having nurses reach out saying, hey, I need help, I need support, I've been rejected, or I'm having a hard time navigating how to become a successful candidate for CRNA school. So long story short, I started handing out my cell phone number, and it got to be a handful of people. And I'm like, well, wow, I'll just start a Facebook group, and that way I can go in there live and answer the questions all at once, just making my time more scalable. So I did that, and within like 6 months, that group grew to be like 6,000 people, and I was spending 10 to 20 hours a week in that group answering questions. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's not enough support. We need more help. And so at the time, I just started leveraging the connections I already had in the community, faculty members especially, and really leaning on them to actually help and support the community. At the time, none of them actually wanted to go on social media or do what I was doing. So I was like, okay, well, if you're not willing to go on there, can you at least let me ask you questions and I'll answer their questions for you? So that's kind of how it started. I started connecting with faculty that I already knew through my working relationships and getting these nurses' questions answered from faculty's perspective. Over the time, I learned a lot doing that. And I also learned that navigating applying to 5 or 6 schools is like solving a giant puzzle because they're all similar, but they're all yet a little different, and you have to really know the nuances. So that's how it all began, and really just from a passion of wanting to do what was right, which is to help.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And for a non-CRNA, can you tell me about how School Prep Academy, how does the business model work? Is it just individual students? Are you working with institutions as well?
Yes, it's always been individuals. However, we do some marketing for CRNA programs. I do also see there being a future where we could work with institutions to kind of create kind of like a pipeline program to support ICU nurses in the CRNA pursuit, because a lot of them are already trying to do that because CRNAs are in such hot demand. They want to try to keep their ICU nurses and become CRNAs in their own health system. But right now, it's very much so the nurses are seeking out the support themselves essentially because it's such a life-changing career path to go from an ICU nurse to CRNA. So a lot of them are taking it upon themselves to support themselves in the process so they're more successful.
Okay, wonderful. And I'm amazed at how much you get done, which will be a theme probably of this whole episode. So what does your day-to-day look like for CRNA School Prep Academy now? Obviously, you're still practicing clinically. And so how do you focus on the business side of that?
That's a great question. It ebbs and flows. I'm still PRN, so just that's an as needed kind of basis at work, which they've been incredible and flexible with me. We had twin girls a couple years ago, and I pretty much took almost an entire year off of work from the hospital during that time. Worked maybe like 1 day a month when I finally did go back to work. And I'm grateful that business really allowed me to do that. And I kept the twin girls home for the first 10 months of their life, which also first time ever being able to do that. We have 3 other kids. Yeah. So it's been really nice to kind of have the flexibility of setting my own schedule. Right now I work like 1 to 2 days a week. Sometimes I work 1 day a month. So it just depends. So I kind of see what the business needs and operationally. And the biggest thing though that I did to get me to where I am today is I scaled a team.
Yeah. And it was so quick, grew substantially so quick. And like you said, those 5 years, did you look back? Were there some growth milestones that you noticed along the way?
Yes, the first one was well, in the beginning, obviously I was doing everything myself and it was incredibly hard. I shed a lot of tears, didn't know how I was going to go forward. And I just kept saying, I have to figure this out because the nurses need this. I need to figure this out for them. And so that's the first big milestone, was being able to scale a team and finding that support I needed. I also invested in like business coaching, because it's one thing to produce the content, but another thing to actually operationalize the business aspect of it that I had no idea what I was doing.
Yes.
I still feel like I have no idea what I'm doing, but I am learning, and I love learning. So you make a lot of mistakes. I call them mistakes, meaning you must make them, because that is one way of learning, right? To make the mistakes.
Yes.
So that is one piece, is surrounding yourself, again, just like I encourage nurses to do, surround yourself with support. Find people who can help you, whether that's a team, whether that's mentors, whether that's a business coach. So that's kind of how I navigated the early years of trying to get to the place where I am now, where I'm still really, I call it, instead of busy, I like the word fulfilled. I had to come to terms. I kept using the word busy and it made me feel bad.
Yeah. I
But
get
now
it.
when people say, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm fulfilled.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. How did you find the business coach? Was it somebody in the field? I mean, can't be many that work with CRNAs.
Correct. You're right. We are very unique in that sense. I listen to tons of podcasts. I'm an audio learner. So I binge podcasts every chance I get. And early on, I was listening to podcasts. Well, I listened to everything, but anything from probably, Tony Robbins to Dean Graziosi to Amy Porterfield to Jenna Kutcher. I found someone called Rick Mulready, and that's the coaching program I did for a year early on. And actually, that's how I met our lead developer for TeachRN, which we can get into down the road. But yeah.
So kind of along those, I actually was with my coach yesterday, and the question they asked me, which I will ask you because it was a great question. So if it's 3 years from today, your vision of CRNA School Prep Academy, what has to have happened over those 3 years for you to feel happy with its progress?
Ooh, I love that. That's a good one. I mean, at the end of the day, our underlying mission has always been to provide access to support, to essentially allow a seat at the table. So any nurse has the freedom to explore the possibility of becoming a CRNA and learn what it takes to be successful. So we would be successful if we just continued on with that mission. But obviously, my big goal is to just reach more nurses earlier on. So nurses who are in nursing school, how can you avoid those early mistakes, right? And just ultimately face less barriers around in your pursuit of becoming a CRNA. So I think expanding our reach would be a big milestone that we would like to achieve. Kind of figuring out partnerships. We're looking at partnerships now with like kind of almost like an ecosystem where we would create kind of like the next most natural step kind of solution.
Right.
And then equally starting to work with more institutions as well.
Gotcha. Cool. Good job. Talk about TeachRN, the expansion into that. So how did you decide to expand the CRNA space into the broader nursing education?
Yeah, so even with both businesses, I actually didn't intend to start a business at all. It was more people came to me with a pain point, and I like to solve problems. Everything is figure outable. I don't know where I heard that quote, but I live by it. And so when nurses kept saying, Jenny, this is great. I'm receiving a lot of support, but I need more of your time. I need you to review my resume. I need you to do my mock interview. I need you to critique my personal statement. And I'm like, you guys, I'm one person. There's thousands of you. How can I possibly do that? So I started leveraging peer-to-peer support, meaning I connected them with their peers, and it worked, meaning they were like, thank you so much. Jordan helped me, Haley helped me. They just started shouting out their peer mentors from the rooftops. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm onto something. But I still had wait lists weeks long to receive this type of support. It wasn't scalable. It was a lot of back end work, and it was actually business-wise, we were losing money. And I'm like, okay, like the impact is great, but this is not a good business model.
Yeah.
And that is at the time I was in a coaching program, and I had heard of teachers pay teachers. And I'm like, these teachers were making millions of dollars on teachers pay teachers. And I'm like, how cool is that teachers are supporting other teachers, like that are essentially monetizing support, right? Like producing, resources for teachers. So with that in mind, I initially called TeachRN Nurses Teach Nurses.
Okay,
But it was
fair.
another mouthful. Yeah, and
Yeah,
then people started calling it NTN. I'm like, oh, not another acronym business. I can't
yeah.
do that. So I changed to TeachRN. And the idea was leveraging peer-to-peer support so that we can make this scalable. And now we have over 200 mentors. Prior to growing the marketplace, I think I had 22 independent contractors that were our mentors, and it
Mhm.
was a total nightmare to manage on the back end with everything. So the marketplace really allows a hands-off approach to allow any nurse to sign up to be a mentor, automatic payments, scheduling, all those things. So I did it to create a solution to what nurses were already asking me for.
Okay. And so is it, as if I'm a student, I can purchase a course that a mentor had created, or am I actually one-on-one with the mentor? How does it work?
Correct. We do have some courses on there, but I would say they're kind of workaround, meaning it's more people. There's like one person in particular I know who sells a course, quote unquote, but when you purchase it, it's like a private YouTube channel that links to video courses.
Okay.
We don't actually have, it's not like Gumroad where you can go in there and see all these courses. It's more based on services. So resume critiques, mock interviews, personal statement reviews, D&P paper reviews, transcript audits for grad school. Some more actual touch points and services, whether that's a live touch point or a non-live touch point, like maybe a care plan or tutoring. A tutoring is a
Okay.
live event, right? You're going live tutoring. We will eventually have group sessions on there as well to allow more scalability for our mentors. But right now it's very much live services. We're actually actively working on securing a pilot partner in health systems as a retention tool and leveraging the open marketplace to kind of have a unique way of not being supply constrained within a health system and allowing like a CVICU nurse, for example, to have an in-house mentor and have an optionality for an out-of-house mentor that's also from the CVICU. So that way you kind of create that psychological zone of safety to ask any question.
Mhm.
We're actively talking to health systems as we speak to pilot this potential blend of an open marketplace with an in-house enterprise solution for health systems.
So you seem to have this really knack to find these blue ocean, or there's these opportunities. Like, did you know that that was missing in the nursing field and you just created it like strategically, or it organically made itself?
I would say it's mostly organic. I guess to back up a little bit though, I struggled as a student, as a child, academically. I had a learning disability. I always had to learn differently. I always had to learn from more than just one person so I could kind of grasp it in a different way. And so mentorship, whether that's tutoring, coaching, peer-to-peer support, I've had to lean incredibly heavy on that my entire life. And so I know how meaningful it is and how impactful it is. And within our own profession, the nurses eat their young scenario, that needs to end. I would love for that to not be a saying that comes to someone's mind when they think about nursing. And I just think our health systems can leverage the 4 million nurses that are in our nation. There are nurse champions out there everywhere who are already doing the good work. We just need to scale it. The marketplace is that scalable solution. And I think if we can figure out how to scale the good deeds and the good work that's already happening beneath the scenes. So it's not, to me, like a blue ocean in the sense that it's already in existence. It's just not being tapped into in a scalable way.
Gotcha. That makes sense. All right, I want to transition to back to your business owner hat. So you know how to make an income as a CRNA, and then you've created these two businesses. What's been your biggest financial lessons learned over this as an entrepreneur over the last 5 years?
Oh, it's hard to say. It's hard to narrow down just one, any from cash accounting to accrual accounting.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know anything about finances. I didn't know how to read a P&L. I didn't know what a P&L was.
Yep.
So I've had to learn a lot. I've leveraged like a fractional CFO
Wonderful.
to help me understand some of the business concepts and things I need to be watching. I think what's tricky about financing is numbers create a story.
Mm-hmm.
And if you only focus on a couple numbers, you're missing the whole picture. So
Sure.
you really have to understand all the inner workings of the cause and effect relationship of the way cash comes in and out of your business. So yeah, I think the very first mistake I made that I remember, because it was painful, was I scaled a team too quickly.
Okay.
Meaning I hired faster than we were growing, and
Okay.
I almost killed ourselves.
Yep.
And but luckily, being a CRNA, I was able to leverage going back to work as much as I needed to, essentially not take the income myself, and still to this day been a huge blessing, which is why I still do it. I think of it as like my safety net, because business is so risky. But I know at the end of the day, I can fall back on a great career.
Sure.
It's really allowed me to take those risks and learn through those mistakes. But yeah, that was one of the number one. Number two is taxes, and that's part of financial wealth and business. But that's been really, really hard to navigate. And going from like an S Corp to Delaware C Corp, going from, taking essentially cash out of the business like it's a piggy bank versus taking a salary, having W-2 employees, navigating different state taxes, and oh my gosh, Nexus. I mean, all the things that you have to think about, you need to leverage all the resources you can get to support you in that process.
So I was going to ask that. So whether it's CRNA School Prep Academy or TeachRN, are they two different types of entities? You mentioned one was
they're
an
both
S Corp.
Delaware C Corp.
They're C Corps. You don't see many C Corps anymore.
Yes, wow. We were an LLC with both, and then CSPA became an S Corp.
Okay.
Then we became a Delaware C Corp, which frankly was a total nightmare.
Yes.
Our EIN number changed, and that was, we're still dealing with that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Years later. And then for TeachRN, we were an LLC and became a Delaware C Corp because we knew with TeachRN we would want to eventually raise VC dollars to scale the impact. And so we knew we had to become a Delaware C Corp. But with TeachRN or CSBA, now I'm getting myself all confused. We did it because I wanted to kind of be like a potential investing solution for, like I said, institutions or other things. So it just makes some of the taxes and that potential investment piece a little bit easier to navigate down the road.
Yeah. Yeah. So back to kind of what you were saying and what you learned, there's many obviously talented CRNAs who could monetize some of their expertise, but they're intimidated about starting a business. So what might be one thing you'd tell them about the reality of starting a business?
I think the biggest thing really is being excited about it and being willing to make mistakes and just looking for support along the way. Everyone can do it. It's a matter of what's your pain threshold? How willing are you to essentially, be criticized even for what you're trying to do? And I don't know if you noticed behind me, but I have the man in the arena behind me.
I see it, yeah.
Actually, yes, Jeff Moulter, who has been my mentor from the very early days, shared that quote with me from Theodore Roosevelt. And I have it behind me because not everyone's going to understand what you want to do. And you have to be able to take that criticism. That's part of starting a business. Like all businesses have been criticized, right? At one point or another, you have to be able to withstand that. And the other piece of it is, test the waters. Don't build and assume people will come. It's better to build a solution people really want and test for it early on by either giving it for free, building that market piece first, meaning how many people are even interested in this potential solution, and then go all in on the build. But you have so much knowledge, whether that's legal nursing, right? There's a CRNA who has an entire consultancy agency. I actually just thought the other day, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's on TeachRN and she mentors for the CRNA mock interview. But I literally was like, you should be teaching how you did your consulting agency. She now has RNs that work under her as legal nurses. I'm like, I would like to pick her brain.
Yeah.
She would save so much time and pain of having to learn the hard way like she did.
Right.
So yeah, there's so much knowledge to be leveraged out there and just sharing how you achieve what you did.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. You have such a unique position of the CRNA pipeline, people coming into the field and perhaps getting jobs in the schools. Are there any current trends that you're seeing with CRNAs that they should be aware of?
I mean, I think we all know we're in a phase of growth as far as there's new schools. I've never seen such an explosion. Like when I first started mentoring, schools were shutting down and we were almost like stagnant, meaning a few would open, a few would shut down. The amount of schools that have opened in the last 2 to 3 years is nothing like I've ever seen before. I don't think we've seen anything like this in a very long time. But the career growth right now it's massive. There's a lot more opportunities for nurses to pursue this career path, and the interest is still there. It's still strong. We saw a weird influx during, the COVID days.
Right.
I launched CSPA 11 days prior to COVID.
Yeah.
I had no idea it was coming, but I was like, oh, what is the world going to come to?
Mm-hmm.
But, the travel nursing became such a lucrative way to make money that we saw a lot of nurses kind of put CRNA on the back burner. That now has kind of come to a halt. So we're seeing more nurses, again, take initiative and really actively pursue this career path. So that's kind of the trends I'm seeing. The other thing that's on the horizon, obviously, is this big, beautiful bill and, government plus loans, and nurses need to rely more heavily on private loans to cover all of their tuition. That's going to be something that's going to be challenging in the near future to navigate. And I had tons of private loans always as an undergrad and grad school. To me, it doesn't seem so scary, but if you don't have good credit, or if you don't have a spouse in grad school, to have a cosigner, it could be a real big barrier for some who don't have, again, either good credit or a spouse in CRNA school who's making income, because that's usually a big barrier to taking private loans.
And how about the conversation? Are you seeing more and more students interested in 1099 work versus W-2?
That interest has always been there. And I think what's unique about this current landscape is so many of them did travel nursing during the pandemic that they're not afraid to go into that as a CRNA, where I think like my generation of people who graduated CRNA school, going into, if you didn't do it when you were an ICU nurse, doing it as a CRNA equally feels kind of like you're taking a scary leap of navigating being 1099 and taxes and then trying to find contract gigs. So the barrier to entry is a little bit higher, but I think for the newer CRNAs coming out of CRNA school, the barrier is not there because they've already navigated it before. So I do think that it's, especially with the rates that you can get as a travel CRNA right now, many of them will be leveraging that, especially to pay off the student loan debt that they have coming out.
Yeah. And kind of along those lines, I was thinking about the debt, what advice, again, you are now in the position of advice giver, would you have for a CRNA positioning themselves financially coming out of CRNA school?
I'm definitely not a financial expert by any means, so please don't take it that way. But just in general, my advice really hasn't changed, which is advice I even took when I was navigating it. Just kind of a funny backstory. Like, for example, I drove a 13-year-old car through CRNA school. I called her old Betty.
Nice.
She was a Nissan Sentra, and after grad school, I was 6 months pregnant with our first, and we had a level 3 snowstorm in Toledo, Ohio. I parked my car outside because why not? And I had to unbury the thing, and it was also had a layer of ice. So I was like yanking the door open, trying to get in, and I ripped the door handle off, like completely came off. And I'm like, oh my gosh, and I had to get to work. So I'm like, I guess I have to crawl out from my passenger side door, 6 months pregnant, and my little Nissan Sentra was not easy to do with a big old belly. I was like, Jenny, I'm a CRNA. I can get myself a new car. So I did. I got myself a Honda Pilot, and I still have that car today. It's 11 years old.
Can't go wrong.
And I've paid off. And I think the key is not living, like social media paints this picture of you have to have all the newest, latest, and greatest. And I think just really being careful with how you spend the money you do make. Refinancing, if you have high interest, low financing and consolidating that so it's lower interest, and making a plan to pay it off in 5 years versus carrying it for a longer period of time. So that is like the best advice I could give, is be cognizant about your living and knowing that maybe it might mean like down the road you can have all the extravagant cars or fancy trip to Greece vacations, but maybe the trip to Daytona Beach is what you do for now. And then just try to find things that are a little more affordable that still create, memories with your family and friends. So,
well, you did a good job. That's very good advice. That's good. I want to go back to kind of content building and your platform, social media. I mean, was that part of your strategy? I mean, over 200 podcasts, you're all over. I see you on YouTube videos, you're LinkedIn, you're very active. Was that something that came organically, or was that part of your strategy?
It was I like scale. I've always felt like, my gosh, if I could just say something once and have it impact somebody multiple times or multiple people, that's a good use of my time. So whenever I do anything, I always think about, how am I going to scale this? How am I going to scale my own impact so it continues to serve? And so that's kind of why I started the podcast, because I knew I had a lot to share and a lot of value to give, but I couldn't do it one-on-one. I couldn't let it stay trapped in a Facebook video somewhere that goes down the Facebook black hole. So I started the podcast to make it more accessible. Funny enough, what's crazy to me is like, I was at NTI this past year, and I had a nurse come up to me that I'd never met before, give me a hug in tears. And she's like, Jenny, she's like, I'm a single mom. I love what you're doing. I can't afford your program, but your podcast has been the most immensely helpful thing that I've received. And so I did it because I wanted to provide access to the support, like I've always said. I mean, yes, we have paid products, but we have a free community. We have a free podcast. We have free blog posts. I'm all about free, but obviously I have to run a business too and support a team to keep the lights on too. Yep. So we have paid products as well. And with that, we have deeper insights and coaching and education. But yeah, I think that impact's really cool. I went to Vive, which is a health tech conference because I'm navigating health tech with, Teach RN. And I was in line at Slotzilla dressed as a unicorn with my sister because we're like, we're in Vegas, we're gonna dress like unicorns and we're gonna do the zip line over the strip because why not?
Did I see this did I see this on social somewhere? Was there a video of this?
No, we did not record it.
Okay.
We did not
I feel like I did.
But I was in line. Oh, that's funny. Maybe I don't think so. But maybe I shared a few pictures, but this girl behind me was like, all of a sudden was like, Jenny? And I'm like, I'm dressed like a unicorn in Vegas. Who knows my... And so I turned around and she was one of our members. She's like, I recognize your voice from the podcast. So it is very humbling and just, I'm really grateful that I've been able to make an impact for so many. And it almost doesn't feel real, but it is, that's the most meaningful part is just saying that people say, hey, you touched my life. And I even had someone who was a vet tech, not even a CRNA, but she's like, your podcast helped me so much. Just with some of like the things I share about, keeping a growth mindset and resilience and things of that nature. So it's really cool to know that, it's helping.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely notice it. And it's actually kind of what I wanted to ask next. You've invested a lot of time and energy and resources, free resources, but at the same time, you've created two businesses. This is kind of like your definition of your purpose. I mean, how do you evaluate your return on investment for the things that you're doing when you're giving education? How do you balance those two?
Yeah, I think ROI there's different types of ROI. One's a personal financial ROI, which I know that day's coming where maybe someday, you typically start a business, someday you make an exit, right? The hope is to get it as valuable as possible for that day. The other ROI is the fact that I'm supporting myself. We don't have private jets or anything crazy. We're essentially living a very comfortable lifestyle like I would if I was working in full-time as a CRNA, but it allows me to work from home. Like that's an ROI to me because we have 5 kids. So
yes.
I get to be more present at home. If they're sick, I get to be home. So that's to me an ROI where I get some more time with my family because of the business. The other ROI is knowing that we're making a meaningful impact for the profession. I see it as we're creating stronger candidates to become stronger CRNAs, stronger students, more successful students, more mentally, emotionally prepared nurses to enter this really challenging and stressful career path, not just as a CRNA, but even surviving the brutality of what CRNA schooling is like. So to me, the ROI is we're strengthening our overall CRNA community by giving back early on to the ICU nurses who are considering the career path.
Mm-hmm. And are there certain indicators that you follow, whether it's, acceptance rates, or how do you measure your success in that regard?
Yeah, it's funny. I was just having this conversation yesterday. I worked yesterday at the hospital and the student from Midwestern, I'm in Ohio, but she was from Midwestern and she rotates at our hospital. She was like, oh my gosh, Jenny, she stopped me in the hallway. She knew me. And, I told her, even shared with her, like, yeah, for the longest time, I almost didn't want to believe how successful we were because it felt not real. Mm-hmm. We were gathering data from day one on what are successful students doing. And we were studying that pathway, which is why we created our 12-month and 6-month intensive, long story. But we were essentially studying data, meaning what makes a successful student and why. And we were seeing 80% acceptance rates amongst our CSPA members who are members for 6+ months or more. Okay. And it was shocking. And I was like, no, the national average is 12%. There's no way we're getting this many students into school. But after about, I'd say, a year and a half of denial, I was like, this is real. This is real. And I think we should accept this data because it's not, 5,000 people giving this feedback. It was about 1,000 people that we had survey data on, but it kept holding at the 80%. So that to me signals a very strong correlation between receiving support and career development and success. And that's why we launched our money back guarantee courses, because I already knew our risk was really low. So financially and business model wise, I knew we would be taking a very low risk of giving a refund because our students would be successful. And it's been 3 years and we've never given a refund because we've gotten 100% of students in who have completed the program. So I don't know. I almost want to pinch myself sometimes where I'm like, oh my gosh, this works. And, the faculty coaches who are now doing the coaching, they believe in the mission so strongly too, because they're seeing the transformation. And I think if more had the opportunity to see the powerful transformation we're making for these nurses who have been rejected, we don't just take nurses who have never been rejected. A lot of them have been rejected 3, 4, 5 times.
Right.
They do our program and they get in. So it's just the data doesn't lie. It works. And so that's, to me, where I see the future of this going.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So we've mentioned it a few times, but 5 children, 2 businesses, some clinical practice here and there. How in the world do you balance all of this?
With grace and being fulfilled, right? Versus the B word, the busy word. I have found, I think I enjoy chaos. Like, I literally think I enjoy it. I think I seek out, I must be like an adrenaline junkie. I don't know. But I do like fast pace. I only have one speed. And it's, if I ask you to do something, it means now, not 5 minutes from now.
Yes.
I'm very much a go, go, go kind of person. I'm always looking for something to kind of, I don't know. I enjoy the constant thrill of having something going on. So even though it could be overwhelming, yes, at times, I love the chaos of having 5 kids. I mean, our daughter just drew on my work badge, like with a permanent marker. Luckily, she drew on the side that I don't have to scan.
Perfect. Yeah.
But I'm like, oh my gosh. And I mean, so it's just total chaos at home usually, but I love every minute of it. It's love, it's love. And CSPA, it's love. I love my nurses. I love our students. Teacher N, I love our profession. I love the CRNA community. Everything I do is for love. And so sometimes in order to kind of show your love, you have to do a lot of things, right? You have to show up for people in different ways. And so I see the business and family and kind of juggling it all as I have a lot of things that I love to do in my life. And I just try to find ways to balance that. You do have to set boundaries. I had to learn kind of the hard way that before you say yes, you have to think about what you're saying no to.
Sure.
That has been an immense piece of advice that I've taken with me. So if I'm saying yes to this podcast, what am I saying no to?
Right.
You're always saying no when you say yes. So that's helped me say no a lot more, or at least schedule it, right? Or at least, I took over a month to come on this podcast because I was busy. I was traveling. I was doing all these other things. I'm like, I can't say yes to this right now. But it's like, no doesn't mean never. It just means not yet. So just trying to prioritize has been another thing, is prioritizing my time has been really, really critical.
Wonderful. And did I see too that your husband also works with CSPA?
Yeah. So funny is another backstory. Back when I started CSPA, I had no intention of starting a business, but my husband did.
Okay.
So he was going to do a marketing company. He's always had a passion for marketing. He's really good at emails and conversion copy, that kind of thing. I am not. I am definitely not. I speak the way I talk, which is not eloquent at all. Or I type the way I talk, I should say.
I'm with
Anyway, so that being said, back when I started getting overwhelmed and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't do all this myself. I'm trying to do emails. I'm trying to do the content. I'm trying to do the coaching. I'm doing everything. I was literally crashing and burning. It was during COVID and he essentially had to stay home to watch the kids anyways. And I'm like, you need to do this. You need to come in and help me with my emails. So he did. And he's been part of the business since probably about 2021.
Okay.
And now what's been fun is like, we're in this together. It's messy. It's hard, but we can have enjoyable conversations over, brainstorming ideas at the dinner table, which, we're 24/7 business, but we enjoy it because we're building it together. So it doesn't feel like work when we're like, ooh, like we're being creative together. We have a creative outlet together. And I honestly don't know if this would work without him being so involved, because I think there'd be a big disconnect between us. But because he's involved both TeachRN and CSBA, it's actually part of our relationship too.
Yeah. Yeah. So how about, a relatively young family and young businesses, and now you're working together, that stressor of money, even personal money, how have you two learned to communicate that with one another and structure that all the way down to the household?
Yeah, it's transparency is the big thing. As we've always, even before the businesses, I'm really grateful. He's my best friend. I mean, we've been together since we were 18 years old, and we've grown up together. Yeah. Like we've reached that point in our relationship where like, wow, we've been together longer than we've been without.
Right.
Like that's where we're at.
Right.
We're like, oh, so transparency, talking about things. I mean, I vent, he vents. We have a different way of both. We have both different ways. He's like the type B and I'm the type A person. So I like get everything out, everything, like just like hear it. And he's just like, but it's good because he calms me down and then we can rationalize through it together. But a lot of it is just sharing. Like I just like, hey, this is what's going on and we need to address it. Don't get me wrong. Business has been, it can be labile, right? We can have ebbs and flows of like, we're doing great. Oh, what's going on? What's happening? Help, we're in trouble. Yeah. So it hasn't been all roses and sunshine. It's been really hard. And we've had to take some personal financial hits in the process. And we've leveraged things, we've leveraged our own personal finances to make the businesses work. And I've leveraged being a CRNA to work more. I've taken locum gigs myself when things got tight here personally. So yeah, we just talk about it. And I think that's the big thing, is just being open and transparent. And we both have the same financial goals long term. So that helps too.
Yeah. So I was going to ask what the low point was along the journey, but you kind of mentioned that a little bit, I guess. But if you had to go back and tell Jenny 5 years ago one thing, what would you tell her?
Not be so afraid. I was so afraid. And I still think fear is something I struggle with. And yeah, I would tell myself to not be afraid and to own the fact that I can do this. In the beginning, I just had so much doubt. And like I said, it's still a work in progress. I still struggle with it, to be honest. But I just kept thinking, like, why me? Like, can I really do this? Like, why should I do this? Like, why am I being called to do this? And I kept thinking, like, this shouldn't be me. And I actually think it needed to be me. So I think sometimes when you doubt yourself, it's actually because you're not listening to your intuition and like the fear of being judged, right? And so like that's a piece of advice, is to just listen to the man in the arena first, which is again why I have it framed behind me, and just go do the dang thing, not worry about all the naysayers, because they're not out there doing the thing. So let them go.
Yeah, I agree. And I heard something the other day. I'm a big podcast person like yourself, and I think there's something to the effect of, the thing that gives you the greatest amount of resistance is the thing that you should actually do. So it's, I think, very much like what you just said. So I wanted to wrap up talking about community. I think one of the most important things in all of life, frankly, is just having a sense of community. We're meant to be with other people. We are not meant to be alone. And I know that's a big part of your mindset and what you're working on. Can you talk about the community that you've created and how that impacts or part of it?
Oh my gosh, that is the biggest piece. And kind of, it gives me goosebumps. I just got goosebumps thinking about it, because it is by far the most important piece of this entire journey. It's not courses, it's not education, it's not even, the coaching at all. It's building community. It's having that feeling of someone's in my corner, whether that's a peer, whether that's a CRNA mentor, whether that's, your colleague. It's having that someone else believes in you, sometimes more than you believe in yourself at times. Everybody needs that. And we're cultivating that. We're creating that with CSPA, with TeachRN. And the way I see it is, it's the rising tide that lifts all boats. When you hold the door for someone, they're more likely to hold the door for someone else. When you scratch someone's back, they're likely to scratch someone else's back. It's just that pay it forward mentality that community creates when you do it the right way, right? I'm not talking about Reddit. That's not the right, it can be toxic too, right? Yes. But I think when cultivated without any, like, I don't have any tolerance for disrespect. I don't have any tolerance for, there's no such thing as a dumb question. Right. When you kind of cultivate, this is a safe place, the impact that makes, not only personally, but professionally for our culture is massive. So it really is a culture shift. And I really think the new generation, which is great, I love to see it. They're like, this is what I expect, and you're going to give it to me or I'm out. Okay. And what I mean by that is they expect to be supported. They expect that this is a natural part of career development, is for you to support me in this career path, and they won't accept any less. Where I think previous generations were like, okay, this is hard. I got to figure it out myself. No one's here to support me. I just got to do it myself, which is fine too. I mean, that builds grit and resilience. But you can still build grit and resilience by being resourceful, by letting people pour into you. In fact, it's like that saying, if you stand on the shoulders of giants, why? Why learn the hard way? You'll get further faster and do more with the right support. So that's essentially what the community is doing. It's allowing others to skip the mistakes, to jump over those hurdles by having more insight and awareness of, ooh, I can avoid that really painful thing because you just shared this piece of advice with me. Thank you. And like that, they are more likely to pass it on to somebody else. Yeah.
And are you building this community through CRNA School Prep Academy?
So we have a free community. It's up to 4,000 people, and we just launched it last year. Right. So it's just word of mouth is really powerful when people find something that supports them. So that is growing on Circle. And then, with TeachRN, there's no actual forum component of it, but word of mouth is so strong. I have students come up to me and say, yeah, my colleagues talk about TeachRN and they tell me I should get on the platform. And I call it WOM, word of mouth, WOM. Yep. WOM is one of the most important things you can do in business, because you can't spend, if you have to constantly spend money to make money, you're always going to find like a plateau.
Yeah.
Where if you have word of mouth, this is like this powerful machine that just
Yes.
keeps going and going and expanding. So both of them, in order to achieve it, you have to cultivate that culture and that community piece that people know where to go to find the resources that make them feel supported.
Love it. Love it. Well, thank you for sharing. And we will be sure to have links to everything for Jenny in the show notes below for both TeachRN and CRNA School Prep Academy. Jenny, thank you so much for being on this episode of Money RX for CRNAs. You are a dynamo. You're amazing. You've accomplished a lot, and we're excited to follow you.
Well, thank you, Brett. It's been my pleasure, and I'm grateful for all your listeners tuning in, and look forward to staying in touch.
Love it. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too.
This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions. This podcast does not engage in rendering legal, financial, or other professional services.